Each year, over 1 billion pounds of seafood move through a single company's processing infrastructure. Most Americans consume its products without recognizing the name. Trident Seafoods operates at a scale that is genuinely difficult to visualize from the outside. Dozens of vessels, 9 shore-based processing plants, cold storage capacity across some of Alaska's most remote coastlines. The system behind this output runs without pause, through winter storms, quota rotations, all in shift changes that no consumer ever sees. Trident Seafoods harvests and processes more seafood than any other company in the United States. This video traces the full system, from Bering Sea trawl decks to refrigerated containers departing the port. If you follow how large-scale food systems actually work, subscribe and leave a like below. Drop a comment. Have you ever eaten a fish sandwich or fish stick without knowing it came from a Trident vessel? The trawl doors are already at depth. Trident Seafoods was founded in 1973 in Seattle, Washington. It began as a small-scale fishing operation targeting Alaska's groundfish stocks. Within a decade, it had expanded into shore-based processing and cold storage infrastructure. By the 1980s, Trident had established processing facilities across Alaska's primary fishing zones, Dutch Harbor, Akutan, Kodiak. Each location was selected for direct proximity to productive fishing grounds. More remoteness from population centers was never an operational constraint. The company's expansion tracked the establishment of the Exclusive Economic Zone in 1976, which extended U.S. federal fishing jurisdiction to 200 nautical miles offshore. This policy opened Alaska's deep groundfish stocks to organize domestic commercial harvesting at scale. Today, Trident operates a fleet of catcher processors, vessels engineered to catch, process, and freeze product entirely at sea. These ships function as floating production facilities, or removing the need to return to port between harvests. The processing capacity aboard a single vessel can exceed 1 million pounds per trip. A standard Trident catcher processor runs between 200 and 300 feet in length. Crew sizes range from 80 to 130 workers, depending on vessel class and target species. Shifts run continuously, 12 hours on, 12 hours off, for the duration of each fishing trip. The fleet operates under federal fishing permits issued by NOAA Fisheries. Annual species allocations are set through the North Pacific Fishery Management Council. Trident's quota position across multiple Alaska groundfish species represents one of the largest single-company allocations in U.S. commercial fisheries. The primary fishing ground is the Bering Sea, one of the world's most productive marine environments and one of its most operationally demanding. Water temperatures average near freezing year-round. Seas regularly develop swells of 20 to 30 feet during winter operations. Pollock is Trident's dominant target species. The Bering Sea pollock fishery produces more than 3 billion pounds annually, the largest single-species fishery by volume in the United States. Pollock becomes fish sticks, fast food sandwich fillets, and the surimi base for imitation crab products. The Gulf of Alaska provides a second operational zone for Trident's fleet. Cod, halibut, sole, and Pacific salmon are harvested in this region under separate seasonal permit structures. The timing of each species opening determines vessel routing and plant staffing schedules. Pollock harvesting uses midwater trawl gear, large cone-shaped nets towed at depth through concentrated fish schools. The net mouth opens to over 100 feet in diameter at operating depth. Catch volume per tow can reach 100,000 pounds or more in productive conditions. After each tow, the catch is transferred from the net into onboard holding tanks through a seawater slurry pumping system. The transfer is completed quickly to maintain fish quality. Temperature in the holding tanks is monitored continuously throughout the holding period. Once the hold reaches capacity, factory deck processing begins aboard catcher processor vessels. Fish arrive via conveyor from the holding tank below. Sorting begins at the first station, by species, by size, and by condition. The processing line runs at full speed from this point forward. A pollock destined for surimi production enters a dedicated processing line. The fish is mechanically separated, minced, and washed through a water-intensive refining process. The resulting protein paste is surimi, the base ingredient for imitation crab legs, fish cakes, and processed seafood products across multiple global markets. Whole pollock are headed and gutted by automated machines operating at high throughput rates. A roe is separated during processing and packaged independently. It is a premium export product sold primarily to the Japanese market. Every component of the fish is evaluated before routing decisions are made. Finished product is flash frozen aboard the vessel at temperatures reaching -30 degrees Fahrenheit. Block frozen pollock is wrapped, labeled, and stacked in the ship's refrigerated holds. Some catcher processors carry more than 1 million pounds of frozen finished product before returning to port. Trident also participates in Bering Sea crab fisheries, primarily red king crab and snow crab. Crab operations use a different vessel type, pot boats that deploy and retrieve large steel crab pots from the seafloor on fixed soak schedules. Crab pots weigh up to 800 pounds when empty and are baited, tagged, and dropped at geo-referenced coordinates. Soak time ranges from 12 to 72 hours before retrieval. Deck crews work in rotation through the hauling cycle, processing and rebaiting pots continuously. Live crab is held in seawater circulation tanks aboard the vessel after hauling. The crab must remain alive and in condition until delivery to the processing plant. Mortality in the holding tanks reduces the per-pound value of the entire load and affects plant scheduling on arrival. Pacific salmon, Chinook, sockeye, pink, chum, and coho are harvested seasonally across both Trident operational zones. Salmon operations involve both company-owned vessels and a shore-based tender network that reaches independent fishermen operating along the coastline. Tender vessels collect salmon from smaller independent fishermen operating drift gill nets and purse seines. The tender ices the catch on board and delivers it to the nearest Trident processing facility. This network allows Trident to source salmon across a broad coastal geography without proportionally expanding its own vessel count. And salmon quality degrades measurably within hours of harvest if not properly iced. Trident's tendering system is structured around speed of transfer. The target is fish and ice within 20 minutes of leaving the net. Temperature management at this stage determines the value grade of the entire load. Trident's shore-based processing plants form the second tier of the production system. The major facilities operate in Dutch Harbor, Akutan, Kodiak, and Sandpoint. In most of these communities, Trident is the primary employer and the largest single driver of local economic activity. At the Dutch Harbor facility, vessels dock directly against the processing building structure. Product transfers by enclosed conveyor from the ship's hold into the plant without exposure to the outside environment. No time is lost between offload and processing line entry. The system is continuous. Inside the plant, species and product types route to separate processing lines. Fresh cod moves to filleting stations. Frozen pollock blocks move into long-term cold storage. Salmon enters a dedicated grading and packaging sequence. Each line operates independently and is staffed for its specific throughput target. Grading is performed by both automated optical systems and human inspectors. Optical graders measure fish by weight and detect surface defects at line speed. Human graders confirm quality at designated checkpoints. Both verification layers are required to meet Trident's production specifications and customer contracts. Filleting machines on high-volume lines process more than 60 fish per minute. Blade calibration is performed daily and verified by yield measurement. Yield, the percentage of usable flesh recovered per fish, is tracked by line, by shift, and by species. Trimmings from filleting operations are not discarded. Frames, heads, and viscera are collected by a separate material handling system and routed to the byproduct processing area. And fish meal and fish oil are produced from this recovered material and enter agricultural and aquaculture feed supply chains globally. Finished fillets, portions, and block product are moved directly into blast freezers after packaging. Blast freezers reduce core product temperature to -10 degrees Fahrenheit within a controlled time window. The rate of freezing affects cell structure and moisture retention and determines shelf stability. After blast freezing, finished product transfers into long-term cold storage warehouses. These facilities maintain temperatures between -10 and -20 degrees Fahrenheit year-round. Trident's aggregate cold storage capacity across its Alaska network holds hundreds of millions of pounds of product between harvest and shipment. Cold storage inventory is tracked by lot number, species, processing date, and grade. Outbound shipments are pulled according to rotation protocols that prevent older product from accumulating behind newer inventory. Separate routing applies to retail, food service, and export orders from the warehouse management system. Packaging lines produce a range of finished goods calibrated to buyer specifications. Retail portions are vacuum sealed, labeled, and packed into master cases. Food service formats are configured for bulk buyers. Restaurant chains, institutional kitchens, hospital systems, and national school food programs. Trident's branded retail line appears in frozen seafood sections at major grocery chains across the United States. The company also produces private label seafood products for retailers who market the product under their own brand identities. The same processing infrastructure serves both channels simultaneously. A significant portion of Trident's output is sold as minimally processed bulk product, headed and gutted, whole frozen fish, or pollock blocks, exported to overseas secondary processing markets. Japan, South Korea, China, and European buyers purchase Trident product for further cutting, portioning, and repackaging. Export shipments are loaded into refrigerated containers, reefer units, at the ports of Dutch Harbor and Seattle. Container temperatures are set and logged before departure and monitored throughout ocean transit. So delivery windows to Asian and European markets are measured in weeks, and temperature compliance is documented for each container. Some Trident product re-enters the U.S. market after overseas secondary processing. Pollock exported as block to Chinese processing facilities is cut, portioned, breaded, and returned to American retail shelves. This circular trade pattern reflects differences in processing labor costs across international markets, not a reduction in product traceability. So Trident's Seattle headquarters coordinates logistics, commercial sales, and regulatory compliance across the entire system. NOAA Fisheries inspectors audit at-sea operations. FDA and USDA oversight governs processing plant sanitation, labeling, and product safety. Alaska state agencies monitor environmental compliance at all shore-based facility sites. The cold chain connecting Alaska processing facilities to continental U.S. distribution centers depends on layered logistics. Our product moves from plant cold storage to refrigerated transport trucks to port warehousing and then to container vessels or cargo aircraft for time-sensitive routes. Each handoff requires documented temperature verification. Trident maintains supply relationships with national food service distributors, including U.S. Foods and Cisco, as well as direct retail supply agreements with major grocery chains. The company's products reach consumers across all 50 states through frozen retail aisles, restaurant menus, and institutional food programs. Quality assurance runs throughout every stage of Trident's system. Processing line data, water temperature logs, grading records, and cold chain temperature documentation are maintained as traceable production records. In a product recall scenario, Trident can trace any unit back to a specific vessel, fishing trip, and processing date. The workforce supporting Trident's operations is large and seasonally variable. While peak salmon season in summer draws thousands of additional processing workers to Alaska plants. Workers arrive from across the continental U.S., Alaska, and internationally. Company-managed housing, meals, and transportation are part of the employment structure. Plant supervisors monitor throughput metrics in real time. Line speed, yield percentage, equipment downtime, and waste generation are logged at shift intervals. When processing margins are measured in cents per pound across hundreds of thousands of pounds per day, operational efficiency is not an abstraction. Vessel captains and crew aboard Trident's fleet operate under U.S. Coast Guard licensing requirements. Safety protocols include mandatory vessel inspection cycles, survival equipment checks, and crew training requirements enforced by the Coast Guard and Trident's own safety management program. Working conditions in the Bering Sea are among the most demanding in American industry. Fishmeal produced from Trident's processing byproducts is bagged, palletized, and shipped to agricultural feed manufacturers globally. Fish oil is extracted, clarified, and sold to nutritional supplement producers and aquaculture feed compounders. The byproduct stream represents meaningful revenue that reduces the effective cost of primary production. Trident's quota holdings across Alaska's groundfish fisheries represent a form of long-term operational capital. These allocations carry market value and define the company's annual harvest capacity. The scale of Trident's quota position is one of the primary structural factors that differentiates it from mid-sized competitors in the Alaska seafood sector. New processing automation continues to be installed across Trident's facility network. Automated portioning systems reduce labor requirements on fillet lines. Advanced optical sorting improves grading precision and consistency. The operational objective remains constant: maximum recoverable yield per pound of raw material processed with minimum variation across shifts. Each year, the Trident system resets. Quotas are reviewed and reassigned. Vessels return to dry dock for safety inspections and refit. Processing plant lines are deep cleaned, recalibrated, and restarted. The seasonal permit windows open, and the trawl doors drop to depth in the Bering Sea once more. The product is sealed. The containers are locked and loaded. Refrigerated trucks are already departing the port. Somewhere in a grocery store freezer section across the country, a package of pollock fillet arrived this week from a vessel that was running trawl gear in the Bering Sea 10 days ago. The water surface is already calm again. Under this video, there's a subscribe button. It's a small action, but it helps document how water becomes food at scale. If you found this system worth following, leave a like. And tell us, where are you watching from? Have you ever worked in aquaculture or seafood processing?